Hello and welcome everybody to Monster Monday. I'm D&D Gallibond. You're listening to the pre-stream. Music you're hearing right now comes from Syrinscape. It's fast becoming my favorite desktop application when running D&D games or doing any kind of D&D related streams. They have amazing ambient sounds and incidental music for you to use during your games. They also have some very cool spell effects that I am just basically scratching the surface of. When your party is in a battle, you can have all of the sounds of the battle going on. You know, the weapons going by, the impact of weapons, and you can have the reaction of people. Or if there's something dramatic. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then, of course, all of your spell effects. Your magic missiles. And your fire spells. And all of that kind of fun stuff. So, this is from, the music you're hearing now is from a sound set called Friendly Tavern, and this is a grouping called More Music. We're going to be changing it up to another sound group when we get started at the top of the hour. Hope everybody's having a good Monday. Hope you're getting all geared up for the holiday season. And also, want to remind you, go check out Mo over at the Tabletop Bellhop. He is the OG when it comes to all things tabletop games. Card games, board games, party games, you name it. If you can play it on a tabletop, he's got all kinds of information about it over at the Tabletop Bellhop. And there's a whole galaxy of links he has to people that are creating all kinds of content. Videos, live streams, podcasts, everything on all aspects of tabletop games, from industry insiders and looking at game development and new games coming out, to actual play games, reviews of games, analysis of rules, and all those kinds of things. Strategic sort of thing. So, yeah. Find that all over there. Viewers, how are you guys doing? We'll get started at the top of the hour. Till then, enjoy the Syrinscape music. Get my tea here. Cup of hot tea always goes down really well, and you can tell I'm an American drinking hot tea because I have it with lemon juice and honey. All the English like to drink their tea with milk and honey. I never quite figured out. It seems like, cream is natural for me to put in coffee, but in tea, it's always like, what? But I suppose it's the same difference. It's probably just as strange for our friends from the UK to see us Yanks put lemon in our tea. Alright, I'm gonna mute this. Alright. About 30 seconds to go. Go ahead and shift this view here a little bit and bring us over to this sound set here. Alright, so now we're in the same sound set from Syrinscape, but this is a nice quiet corner near the fire. So sit back and relax as we say welcome everybody to Monster Monday for Monday, the 20th of December, 2021. I am your host, DM Gallibond. And tonight on Monster Monday, we're going to be looking at a monster that's a real treat for DMs. A real fun monster, especially with some of the things that they've added in 5th edition. And it's a monster that can give us some ideas for how to deal with some of those times in your game where it feels like things just are starting to grind to a halt. Alright, what we're going to be looking at today is the Gray Render. And you might be saying, the Gray Render? What's a Gray Render? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's what we're talking about now. The Gray Render is a monster that first appeared in D&D back in 3rd edition. And 3rd edition is really the only edition that gives us a good physical description of the creature. The other editions give us nice artwork, but this is the only one that puts words to the artwork. So this hulking biped has the mass of a giant. It has a stooped frame, a gray hairless body, and broad shoulders. Its arms are long and sinewy, and its clawed hands scrape along the ground as it walks. Its sloped forehead bears 6 small yellowish eyes. Its mouth is wide and powerful looking, filled with black teeth. And that is a description from 3rd edition. And so it's a very monstrous looking creature. It's often described as somewhere around 9 feet tall and 4,000 pounds in weight. Alright, now here's an image from 4th edition D&D, and this is where we're going to talk a little bit about the lore. In 3rd edition, we learn that there's a unique quality of the Gray Render, is its tendency to bond with, protect, and provide for another creature or group of creatures native to its surrounding. Say what? Say what? Yeah. Okay, well, let's see what they thought about it in 4th edition. The lore says, although Gray Renders are natural creatures that mostly inhabit the world, Many scholars have come to believe that their roots can be traced back to the elemental chaos, where they gained their chaotic, destructive impulses. Well, wait a minute. I thought you said they bonded with, protected, and provided for another creature. And now you tell me that they're filled with elemental chaos. What's going on here? And now, in 5th edition, we learn a curious impulse drives the Grey Render. Despite its hulking form and terrible appetite, it wants most of all to bond with an intelligent creature, and once bonded, give its life to protect that creature. Great strength and a savage nature enable Grey Renders to be fierce guardians, but they lack even a shred of cunning. Now did you see why I said this is a monster that's real fun for us as DMs? Oh, you want a pony? I've got a pony for you. Yeah, party. Here's your pony. All right, and now here's an image of the Grey Render in 5th edition. And not surprisingly, this is a monstrosity, just like our Mage Hunter was last week. Monstrosities are monsters in the strictest sense, frightening creatures, not ordinary, not truly natural, almost never benign. Some of the results of magical experimentation gone awry, like owlbears. Others are the product of terrible curses, and they defy categorization and in some sense serve as a catch-all category for creatures that don't fit into any other type. So, yes, it's a monstrosity, and there's really not a good origin story on where Grey Renders came from. So, you might in your campaign world say that the Grey Render was something that was a byproduct of a failed or maybe all too successful experiment by an ancient wizard to create the ultimate guardian. Kind of the guardian that turned out to be too good. All right, and we have not many things to look at tonight in terms of the source material. There's only 3 different versions of the Grey Render, and we are going to look at those right now as we go all the way back to the origins of the creature in 3rd edition. All right, it entered the game as a challenge rating 8 monster, 10d10 plus 70, 125 hit points, armor class 19, base attack of plus 10, base grapple of plus 15. Full attack is bite and 2 claws. Special attacks improved grab and rend. Dark vision, low light vision, and tracking by scent. It had the power attack, cleave, improved bull rush, and tracking feats. Solitary monster, usually neutral. And then when we talk, we get the physical description, but then it starts talking about the monster, and it says bestial and savage. The Grey Render is a deadly predator found in remote wilderness areas. Okay, wait a minute. Now you're throwing me. These beasts are thought to be composed of dense muscle and bone, granting them the strength and stamina of a giant. It stands about 9 feet tall in spite of its hunt posture, and about 4 feet wide. It weighs around 4,000 pounds. Rangers have reported seeing Renders uproot trees 3 feet in diameter with their jaws and tear them into splinters in just minutes. They're never found in groups. Each of these asexual creatures produces 1 offspring and carries it for a time in a pouch. But thereafter the young Render must fend for itself. Okay, a unique quality of the Render is its tendency to bond with, protect, and provide for another creature or group of creatures. This strange behavior seems contrary to its otherwise savage nature, yet Grey Renders have been found with wolves, lions, horses, displacer beasts, owls, unicorns, hippogriffs, and occasionally even humanoid groups. Whether accepted or not, the render always attempts to remain fairly close, watching over its adopted charges and daily bringing an offering of meat. It never willingly harms adopted creatures and retreats if they attack it. Most adopted creatures quickly begin to appreciate having such a powerful ally and accept and even rely on the Grey Render. And when it attacks, it always attacks to kill. And yeah, so it's a very weird monster. I mean, right from the get-go, just out of the gate, it's like, wait a minute, it's a savage attacking beast, but it wants to love you and pet you and call you George. And look after you. Alright, so, okay. Not sure what to do with that. 3rd edition. 4th edition. Widely feared throughout the world, a Grey Render kills everything in its path. This creature feeds upon flesh and terror alike, working itself into a mindless rampage. So it's a level 19 Elite Brute. So it went from a CR8 to a level 19 monster. 452 hit points. Armor class 31. Makes its saving throws at +2. Grey Render makes 2 claw attacks. If both attack, target takes ongoing 10 damage. Body sweep. Grey Render uses to grab creatures as a weapon. So it'll grab somebody and then it gets hit and it just takes the person it has and attacks somebody with it. That's a pretty cool feature there. Okay, Dismembering Bite. Ooh. Target a creature grabbed by the render. +20. 3d12 +8, and the target is dazed. And while it's bloodied, the Grey Render's claw attack also knocks a target prone. Tactics. Grey Render approaches battle mindlessly and fearlessly. It moves towards the nearest opponent, attacking in a fury and attempting to grab it. Once the Render has a creature grabbed, it uses Dismembering Bite and Body Sweep at the first opportunity. Grey Render flies into a destructive rage when bloodied, mindlessly clawing and knocking opponents about until it's killed or it destroys its enemies. So, yeah, nothing about it bonding with anybody here. Nothing about it protecting anybody. It's just a mindless, savage, chaotic killing machine. Okay, interesting. And now in 5th edition. And 5th edition seems to kind of put together the ideas from 3rd edition and 4th edition, and then build on those a little bit. Okay, notice the reproduction is different now in 5th edition than it was in 3rd edition. Grey Renders reproduce by forming nodules on their bodies that, upon reaching maturity, break off to begin life as young Grey Renders. These monstrosities feel no obligation to their young, and they have no inclination to gather with others of their kind. Okay. Chaotic allies. As a side effect of its breeding, each Grey Render has an overpowering need to bond with an intelligent creature. When it encounters a suitable master, the Render sings to it, a weird warbling cry accompanied by scratching at the earth and a show of deference. Once it forms this bond, the Render serves its master in all things. And although this bond can be a great benefit, Renders are inherently chaotic. In a battle, a Render fights with all the savagery it can muster and never willingly harms its master. But outside battle, a Grey Render might present considerable difficulty for its master's associates. It might follow its master even after being told to stay put, destroy its master's house, burrow holes into the side of a ship, kill horses, attack when it feels jealous, and more. Grey Render might be a boon companion, but it's always an unpredictable one. So Grey Render Quirks, and this is what I want to talk about most with this. There's this whole list of quirks. And if you start looking through these quirks, it's clear the inspiration for this is the household pets. Because this is exactly the kind of things you see in your own pets, you see in pets of family members or friends, or you see in videos that people upload to YouTube with their, family cat or dog. So it hates horses and other mounts. Roars loudly when its bonded creature is touched by another creature. It likes to snuggle. Yeah, it's a 9-foot tall, 4,000-pound lapdog. It uproots and chews on trees. It has terrific and eye-watering flatulence. It brings offerings of meat to its bonded creature. It compulsively digs up the ground. It attacks carts and wagons as if they were terrible monsters. It howls when it rains. It whines piteously in the dark. It buries treasure that it finds. And it chases birds, leaping into the air to catch them, heedless of the destruction it causes. Oh, yeah, the town square. Hey, there's a bird. Oh, it starts lumbering after it, leaps up, and comes down and lands on the porch of the tavern. All right, so, yes, this is why I say this monster is something that they threw a bone to us as DMs, something we get to have fun with. It doesn't matter whether you're attacking a party with it or whether somehow you figure out a way. And there's really no guidance as to say when it's going to attach itself to a human or humanoid. I would suggest maybe there's some kind of percentile, and you figure out what you think that percentile would be. Hey, it's one chance in 100, so 1% chance. Maybe it's a 10% chance. Maybe it's even odds, 50-50 chance. Probably depends on how often you think your party's going to run into this, and whether you want them to have have a chance at having one of these. I'm going to talk a little bit about other ways of using this in your campaigns in a bit. But that's sort of the way the Gray Render looks and the mechanics of the Gray Render throughout the various editions. We're going to go and jump back over to our slides and take a little bit of a look in 5th edition about encounters with the Gray Render and using the Gray Render. All right, so the Gray Render in 5e is a CR12 monster. CR8 in 3rd edition, it was a level 19 monster in 4th edition, so it's come back down somewhere in the middle. It's a CR12 monster. So that means that if you put one Gray Render up against a normal by-the-book adventuring party, it's a hard encounter for a level 7 to level 9 adventuring party. Then at levels 10 and 11, a single Gray Render becomes a medium encounter. And so in order to make a hard encounter at 11th level, you can add a single Gorillan, which is another type of monstrosity out of D&D. And then from levels 12 to 16, it's an easy encounter. And if you want to make that a hard encounter, you can say maybe that the Gray Render has attached itself, it's bonded itself to a Yuan-Ti anathema. And which is another CR12 monster. Now, I didn't say put a second Gray Render because the lore specifically says you never find these in groups. You always find them as solo monsters. So, the only way you would encounter it with somebody else is if it had bonded itself to a creature. So maybe it bonded itself to a Gorillan. Because you remember in 3rd edition it says it might bond itself to a group of owlbears or to a unicorn or to, displacer beast or something like that. So it doesn't have to be a humanoid. Now 5th edition says, well, it wants an intelligent master. Both of them are canon, so that means you get to pick what you want it to be in your particular campaign. at your table. All right, so now let's say you're a player, and one of these monstrosities comes running out of the forest and tries to attack you. First of all, you gotta realize there's no negotiation. If a gray render attacks to kill, it's not gonna stop until the render or its enemies are dead. There's no appeasing it, no reasoning with it, and no taming it. Your choices are to kill, die, or get too far away for it to chase you. If you're carrying around that spell or that scroll of teleportation, that might be a good time to try to use that and get the heck out of there if you're too low level to face it. But if a gray render comes out of the forest and it doesn't attack you, you might fear that whale. A gray render's wail could be even more terrifying and cause more long-term problems than its attack. When it wails at you and paws at the ground, it means it's trying to bond with you and protect you. And once it chooses you, it chooses for life. And of course, it's a chaotic companion. A gray render as a companion creature has all the flaws of a quirky and overprotective dog. One that's 9 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and weighs 2 tons. And it craves all the attention of a family pet. So, yeah, this would be something that your party members would never be able to walk into the town gate the same way again. Not as long as this thing is hanging around. It's just, oh my goodness. What a crazy thing. Okay, now, if you're the DM, tactics for using a gray render in an encounter. Well, like I said before, gray renders are so much fun for us as DM. It's like having a living, breathing, wild magic surge that's as unpredictable as it is powerful. Mordenkainen's Totem of Foes provides a table that shows personality quirks for a gray render that are taken right out of YouTube videos of funny and quirky house pets. So, you've seen the videos of Great Danes who think they're lapdogs, wiener dogs who think they're fierce guardians, and pets that get jealous of anyone or anything that touches their human. Gray renders have all these quirks and more. Alternately, you can just have the gray render be on a maniacal rampage, and in that case, it simply attacks anything with wild abandon, being incredibly fun to run in a fight without worrying about tactics or strategy or anything like that. It's just closest thing on the map, it's going to run over and start claw, bite, go into town on it. Just mindless abandon, dice rolling, and attacking. So a very fun and easy monster to run as a DM from that standpoint. Now, placing this in campaigns, there's I've done a little thought on this, and you probably have started to form some of your own ideas, but I'll throw out a couple of mine, and maybe those will give you some inspiration either with this monster or with other monsters. So there's a lot of ways to use this monster. As a foe, it might simply be on a random rampage, or it might have attached itself to an enemy the PCs have to defeat, making the encounter even deadlier. We're on the trail of this wizard, and we know where he goes because there's always this destruction in his path, but it doesn't look like magical destruction. And people keep talking about this monster that goes, and maybe they don't even notice the wizard because the monster is there. You finally catch up with the wizard. It may have bonded with one of these guys. And now, not only do you have to fight the wizard's spells, you gotta fight this thing. So, that's one thing. Now, alternately, you could have a gray render be the result when a party earns a wish spell granted by a genie, and they ask for something that they think is totally safe, completely harmless, like, okay, for our wish, can you give us a guard dog? Genie's like, oh yes, my friends, I will give you a wonderful guard dog. You can thank me later. Boop. And Grey Render comes up and immediately bonds with one of the party members. Yeah. Now all the side effects of having a, living, breathing, walking, rampaging wild magic surge running along with the party are in full effect. Cue every adventure in the town now becomes an episode out of Keystone Cops, until the town militia gets tired and they send 100 guys out to try to kill the Grey Render. And then maybe they kick the party out of town and they don't have that same base anymore that they used to have. So all kinds of things you can do with that. All right. Equally, when you have that annoying player that tries to tame every darned creature the party encounters, you could give them a Grey Render companion whose flaw is jealousy of the other PCs, or the important recurring NPC allies in the campaign. Okay, we need to go see the magistrate because we have this important information. Yeah, okay, we can't go in. So, Magistrate, can you come out? Magistrate comes out. The Grey Render just gets right in front of its human and glares down at it. Okay, easy boy, easy boy. No, he's okay, he's okay. For whatever reason, he just doesn't like that guy. Now you've thrown a whole new complication for the party to try to figure out how they're going to deal with it. Like I said, tons of fun. Tons of fun. And a way that I think could make this even more entertaining for you behind the screen, if you can build a set of improv prompts that are appropriate for a creature like this, that might be another fun way to make this creature a truly memorable character in your game. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this when it comes to reskinning. And that's really the focus of the reskinning, is not so much reskinning this monster, but taking this template of these personality quirks and applying that template to other companions that your character, or other companion creatures that your characters have. So the beauty of this monster is its outrageous chaos. Like I said, I have some of those players that I've got one that's trying to build a menagerie, trying to collect all of the figurines of wondrous power, and so that for whatever situation they can bring one out. I've got another one who absolutely fell in love with the bag of tricks and uses the bag of tricks at every opportunity. So it's like, now normally as a DM, we like to offload as much of our cognitive load as we can. So as long as players don't abuse it, I'm usually fine with them deciding the personality quirks, them figuring out everything about the companion monster, and if they want the companion monster to do something, they'll tell me. But there are those times where in every game, and it happens from time to time, either in a story arc or it'll happen in a session where things just sort of seem to grind to a halt. People aren't paying attention, or players are tired because it's been a busy week or whatever like that. If you have a companion there, you just pick a personality flaw and have the companion animal start operating on that. Okay, that's going to get everybody's attention real quick. So if you build a list of 4 or 6 personality quirks that randomly roll from them from time to time when the companion is in a scene, could provide a good way to remind your players they don't own the mind of the companion. Now, obviously, if you're going to adopt this thing, the list of quirks for the Gray Render is truly very random. You'd have to take into account the monster's alignment and their general temperament when you're figuring out what the quirks are, and don't make it be something that's that doesn't make sense for that kind of monster. Like for a monster like a griffin that flies, digging in the ground, that probably is not something that is appropriate for that monster. It just wouldn't make sense for a griffin to do that. All right, so perhaps a quirk of a companion griffin, for instance, is grooming the hair of random NPCs. Or a black bear companion might go rummaging for food in saddlebags or pantries every time the party stops fighting or meets with NPCs in a town. Okay, we go to have a meeting, or we're going to go meet one of the town officials in the inn over there. All right, Fluffy the bear, you stay out here. And so the party goes inside. And then after a while, from the kitchen, you hear, "Ah! Get out! Get out! Ah! Help me! Help me! I'm being attacked! Being attacked!" And you run in there, and there's Fluffy. He's come in the door from the stable yard, and is like, just kind of going through the pantry, trying to get something to eat. So, it's just a way of breaking up the monotony, or when things feel like they're slowing down and you need to throw something in there to snap everybody back to attention. That there's and I think of some of these things because I always think about, well, what could I do better in my game? And that's one of the things that I think I could do better. The players like what we do, and my players have a tendency to really enjoy RP scenes, but if left in their natural devices, they will get to a point where it's part of the party in an RP scene, and the other part of the party is sort of sitting back watching that scene. And I like to have, I think it would be better if we can bring everybody together. And if you do something that where a companion creature starts causing mischief, well, that's going to draw everybody from the side of the stage into the action, and now there's something that has to be done about it. So that's maybe something that I could do. And your games, you might have some other completely different situation that you would want to address with this. All right. Let's go and take a look at the chat and see if we have any questions. All right, at the moment, I don't see any questions in the chat, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the wrap-up, and then I will check the chat again to see if there are more questions. All right. I have been DM Gallibond. This has been Monster Monday for the 20th of December, 2021.